Our negotiations took place in a constructive and mutually respectful atmosphere. They were very thorough and useful. I would like to once again thank my American colleague for the invitation to come to Alaska. It is quite logical to meet here. After all, although our countries are separated by oceans, we are actually close neighbors. And when we met, as we stepped off the planes, I said, "Good afternoon, dear neighbor. It's very nice to see you in good health and alive." And in my opinion, that sounds very neighborly, very warm. We are separated only by the Bering Strait, and even then, there are just 2 islands there. There are only 4 kilometers between the Russian and American islands. We are close neighbors, that's a fact. It's also important that a significant part of the shared history between Russia and the United States is connected to Alaska, including many positive events. To this day, there remains a vast cultural heritage from the era of Russian America. Orthodox churches, numerous ones, and more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin. During World War II, it was in Alaska that the legendary air route for delivering combat aircraft and other equipment under the Lend-Lease Agreement began. This was a dangerous, difficult route over vast icy expanses. But pilots and specialists from both countries did everything they could to bring victory closer. They took risks and gave their lives for our shared victory. I was just recently in the city of Magadan in Russia. There, a monument stands dedicated to Russian and American pilots. And on the monument, both the Russian and American flags are displayed. I know that here too there is a similar monument at the military cemetery just a few kilometers from here. Soviet pilots who died carrying out that heroic mission are buried. We are grateful to the American authorities and citizens for their respectful attitude toward their memory. This is dignified and noble. We will always remember other historical examples when our countries fought common enemies together in the spirit of camaraderie and alliance, providing each other with help and support. I am confident that this legacy will help us restore and build mutually beneficial, equal relations at a new stage, even under the most challenging circumstances. As is well known, Russian-American summits have not been held for more than 4 years. That is a long time. The past period has been very difficult for bilateral relations. And to be frank, they have sunk to their lowest point since the Cold War, and this benefits neither our countries nor the world as a whole. It is obvious that sooner or later the situation needed to be corrected, to move from confrontation to dialogue. And in this regard, a personal meeting between the leaders of the 2 countries was truly overdue, of course, provided there was serious and painstaking preparation. And such work on the whole was carried out. President Trump and I have established very good direct contacts. We have spoken on the phone repeatedly and candidly. As is known, the special representative of the US President, Mr. Witko, visited Russia several times. Our aides and the heads of our foreign affairs departments have been in regular contact. As you well know and understand, one of the central issues became the situation surrounding Ukraine. We see the US administration's and President Trump's personal desire to help resolve the Ukrainian conflict, his willingness to delve into the essence of the issue and understand its origins. I have said more than once that for Russia, the events in Ukraine are connected to fundamental threats to our national security. Moreover, we have always considered and still consider the Ukrainian people, I've said this many times, to be a brotherly people, no matter how strange that may sound under today's circumstances. We share the same roots. Everything that is happening is a tragedy and a deep pain for us. That is why our country is genuinely interested in putting an end to this. At the same time, we are convinced that for a Ukrainian settlement to be stable and long-lasting, all the root causes of the crisis, which we have spoken about repeatedly, must be eliminated, all of Russia's legitimate concerns must be addressed, and a fair balance in the sphere of security must be restored both in Europe and in the world as a whole. I agree with President Trump, he spoke about this today, that of course Ukraine's security must also be ensured. Naturally, we are ready to work on this. We hope that the understanding we have reached will help us move closer to this goal and open the path to peace in Ukraine. We expect that in Kyiv and in European capitals, all of this will be received constructively, and that there will be no obstacles, no attempts to derail the emerging progress through provocations or behind-the-scenes intrigues. By the way, with the arrival of the new US administration, our bilateral trade turnover has started to increase. So far, all of this is rather symbolic, but still it's a plus of 20%. What I'm saying is that we have many interesting areas for joint work. It's obvious that Russian-American business and investment partnership has enormous potential. Russia and the US have much to offer each other in trade, energy, the digital sphere, high technology, and space exploration. Cooperation in the Arctic also seems relevant, as does the renewal of interregional contacts, including between our Far East and the American West Coast. In general, our countries need and should turn the page and return to cooperation. It is symbolic that not far from here, on the border between Russia and the United States, as I have already mentioned, runs the so-called international date line, where you can literally step from yesterday into tomorrow. And I hope that we will be able to do the same in the political sphere. I would like to thank Mr. Trump for our joint work and for the friendly and trusting tone of our conversation. The main thing is that both sides were focused on achieving results. We can see that the President of the United States has a clear understanding of what he wants to achieve, genuinely cares about the prosperity of his country, and at the same time shows an understanding that Russia has its own national interests. I hope that today's agreements will serve as a starting point, not only for resolving the Ukrainian issue, but also for initiating the restoration of business-like, pragmatic relations between Russia and the United States. And finally, I would like to add the following. I remember that in 2022, during my last contacts with the previous administration, I tried to convince my former American counterpart that it was unnecessary to let the situation reach a point after which serious consequences, such as military actions, could occur. And I said directly at the time that this was a big mistake. And now today we hear President Trump saying, if I had been president, there would have been no war. I think that's exactly how it would have turned out. I can confirm this because overall, President Trump and I established a very good business-like and trusting relationship. And I have every reason to believe that by moving in this direction, we can reach, and the sooner, the better, a resolution to the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound. And I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe. Thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. That made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team whose faces, who I know in many cases, otherwise, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.